everybody, today we are in my kitchen / living room, which rarely happens, so welcome. I hope it's clean in the background. As some of y'all know, I am fast approaching my college years being over, which is crazy because genuinely it went by so fast. I did this on TikTok last year and I thought I would bring it to YouTube this year, and I'm going to be sharing some advice for college freshmen. It doesn't just have to be freshmen, but I think this is going to be most helpful for everybody who's incoming to college this year. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, my number one tip or piece of advice or just things I've learned over the years is that you will have roommate problems. Everybody has issues with roommates. It just kind of depends on what kind of issues you have. Even with the good ones, even with your best friends, you'll still have issues just because it's such a new dynamic living with people you haven't lived with before. You're combining a bunch of people who grew up in different households, had different rules, different expectations of household responsibilities. All of a sudden now you're crammed in one apartment and it can be a little bit chaotic in the beginning. My freshman year, I lived with 5 random roommates and we were kind of from all over the country, and we definitely had some issues and we definitely had some good times. And it really can work out for your benefit. It's kind of just part of the learning curve. So just remember that it's very, very normal. Just embrace it, learn through it, and make some new friends. And if things are bad enough, you can always move. Piece of advice number 2, homesickness hits hard. And you might not think it will. There are some of you who I know are like waiting to move out. You've been waiting for this since you were born. Trust me, it will still hit you. College can sometimes be a big slap in the face, especially if you're moving far away from home. And there are definitely going to be times that you wish that you were home and just nowhere else but home. I find that FaceTiming family works, or even scheduling trips to go home. I know some people only go home during like Christmas or summer, but for my friends that only go home twice a year, I think FaceTime is the way to go. Tip number 3, no 8 a.m.s unless there's a really good professor teaching it. And honestly, I kind of find that this rule also goes for like past 5 p.m., especially in the fall semester. Now, I know you may be coming in thinking like, oh, well, I came from high school and school started at 7 o'clock in the morning there and I'm very used to it. Things change in college. In college, and especially your freshman year, you're staying up very late doing social activities, and the last thing you'll want to do is wake up for 8 a.m. for calculus. And I can promise you that because I've taken quite a few 8 a.m. classes and every time I regretted it. And as far as the 5 p.m.s go, that's mostly because in the fall semester, it gets really dark really early. And the last place you want to be is in class when it's like dinner time or you're ready for bed. You don't want to be in class then. I find most people just end up skipping and then it affects your grade. Tip number 4. Try to make friends anywhere you go. The beauty about college is it's not like high school where everybody already knows each other and there's like cliques and there's a bunch of social rules you have to follow. In college, nobody really cares what you're doing at all. And you could go up to anybody and that could be your new best friend, genuinely. But as far as friends go in classes, this can be so clutch when it comes to studying material. So whoever you sit next to in your classes, just make sure that you kind of introduce yourself, even exchange numbers, who you can text if you're gone, or if you don't know what assignment you're supposed to be doing, or if you need some help on the homework, or you just want to study together. It makes the class so much better. Number 5, these are kind of my best study tips in general. 1, I always say go to the library at night. Going to the library during the day, at least on my campus, is such a bad idea because everybody is there and it literally just turns into socializing. There has not been a single time I've been at the library during the day where I haven't seen somebody I know. So I always get distracted and it's busy and it's kind of loud. Going at night when people weren't there meant I actually got stuff done, and that was usually better. The second part of this tip is please do not do your homework in your bed. If you can avoid it, I know sometimes dorm rooms, it's pretty tight and you don't have a desk or whatever, and that's okay. I would still suggest doing it in the library instead. But there are a ton of studies that link doing homework in your bed to not being able to sleep properly. I've studied this a ton. I'm a neuroscience major. This is kind of the things that they harp into us, so make sure that you do not do your homework in your bed unless you want your sleep to suffer. And part 3 of this tip, of course, I feel like I have to kind of send this out there for everybody who is already asking me for this year. I have a spreadsheet tracker that I used my sophomore year on, and it changed my academics. I'm not kidding. You input all of your assignments for the entire semester for every class, and then you categorize them by due date. So then you can check them off, and ever since then, I never missed a single assignment. My freshman year, I definitely did. I found it was really hard to keep track of things. A lot of my classes were on different websites, or only your things are due in the syllabus or just what they tell you in class, and it gets a lot to keep track of. So the assignment tracker is extraordinarily helpful. I have a few different videos, walkthroughs on my TikTok and Instagram. I'll go ahead and link them in the comments below so y'all can track those and watch them, but I highly suggest it. Number 6, office hours. Your professors are your friends. This can be something that can be quite intimidating. I promise you, I was so intimidated by office hours. I came from high school where a lot of my closest friends were honestly the teachers, and I spent a lot of time in the teachers' rooms because I had to make up hours before and after school. And so I got pretty close with some of my teachers, but still moving to college, I was really intimidated with the professors. They seemed really put together, and a lot of them were doctors, and I didn't want to go and just sit in their office and bug them about questions, you know? And after a year of avoiding it, I realized it was a huge disadvantage. People who go and mingle with the professors not only get extra help, but then also the professor knows them personally, and a lot of times that can lead to better connections with your professors, which who knows how that's gonna help you. I know my dad one time, he failed calculus. That was the only class he failed in college, and at the end of the semester the professor said, well, because you've been coming in and you've been a good student, if you pass the final, then I'll put that grade as your whole grade, and I'll get rid of all the rest of it because you've been working so hard and I've seen how much you've tried. You know, I want to reward that. Don't be afraid to say yes to socializing. My freshman year, I definitely came in with the idea of I wanted to focus on my academics, and for whatever reason I felt socializing, most college students socialize, was going to deter from my academics. I was obviously down to go and hang out with friends and do whatever, but I didn't really want to go out and party or do all these crazy things that some people were doing on the weekends. I thought that it was going to distract me. At some point I decided okay, well, I can definitely have these two coexist in my life, and once I kind of recognize that and learn where to draw my boundaries, I realized that I really could do both. It just kind of takes an awareness, and you have to draw your own boundaries of okay, this is how much I'm going to socialize today, and this is how much homework I have to do today as well. So you definitely don't have to cut it all out of your life. Don't be afraid to say yes, but also don't be afraid to say no if you have stuff to do. Number 8, the Frat Flu and the Freshman 15 are very real and will very likely happen to you. I think the Frat Flu is something that my friends coined the name of, but essentially what it is it's this fall kind of sickness. It's the flu or a cold that goes around in October every single year, and almost everybody gets it, and it's called the Frat Flu because it's pretty much everybody who's been at parties together. Just because you don't go to parties doesn't mean that you're immune. Everybody gets it, and it kind of sucks, especially because it's right after you move in, you are you got the hang of things, you understand how school works, you have your friends, and then boom, you're on the bed sick, and it sucks because your mom's not there to help you, and you don't know what to do, and your roommates are also sick, so it's not they can go and get you soup. It's the worst. The Freshman 15, also very real, but I find that it goes in both directions. Pretty much every single one of my friends and everybody that I've talked to, my siblings, all of us either gained or lost 15 pounds our first freshman year. I feel most people only talk about it in the gaining direction because you're suddenly now eating food court food where a lot of times it's not healthy, or you don't have access to a kitchen, so you're eating packaged snacks all the time, and that's where a lot of people get that freshman 15 in the gain direction. But I also know quite a few people who've lost 15 pounds in the opposite direction because of stress, or suddenly now they're having to keep track of their meals on their own while also they've got all this other stuff happening with classes and friends, and it can be a stressful time, and so a lot of people also lose 15 pounds. Number 9, drop the drama or people will drop you. Again, just to reiterate this, college is obviously not like high school, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows that, but sometimes I feel it can get a little bit blurry when it comes to friend dynamics, because a lot of people still come in with the mindset that high school drama can happen in college. Once you get older, people don't want that kind of drama, and they start realizing that it's not worth it to have that drama in their life. And I've seen it many times happen where somebody who's a little bit more dramatic kind of gets cut out of the friend group because people just don't want to deal with it. And that's kind of the beauty of college, I guess, in both directions, is if you don't vibe with somebody, then you can literally just move on. But also the opposite does happen, where if somebody is being a little bit dramatic, they tend to kind of get dropped by the rest of the group. So make sure just to recognize when people are having enough and be mature about things. And tip number 10, it will all be okay. Remember, everybody is going through the same exact thing, so you don't have to feel you're alone. You've got this. So there are always people who have your back. If not those people, then go to the campus. Your campus definitely has resources. There's resources online if you're feeling lonely, you need some help. There's definitely resources. So don't be afraid to reach out, ask for help. people will help you. So hopefully these 10 tips help better equip you for your freshman year of college. A lot of it's just kind of like you gotta live and you learn, you know, but hopefully these will help give you a little bit more. And remember, it's such a fun time. Everybody loves it. I've loved my experience. Even with the downsides that I've had, I've definitely had some like crazy and scary and sad times, but overall it's just part of the experience, and I feel like I've learned so much. So you're about to have some of the best years of your entire life. Enjoy it, and you've got this. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you another time. Bye.